There is someone who said, fail is the first attempt in learning.
Welcome back, everyone. This is part 2 of the episode together with Christina Hiltscher about taking that leap and embracing a different path, a different profession, and perhaps pursuing your passion. Why not? So we pick up the conversation from where we left it off, and in particular we look into what was important for her when she made that step, and how was she able to redefine her professional persona. Let's tune into the conversation.
What's very important also when you make that step, and when I made that step, was to really look at, okay, what have I learned about myself in my previous jobs or career, right? What are the things that are important to me, but also I've not only just learned what I'm good at or what my strengths are, but also maybe where are my limits, and how do I need to work differently, or I do want to work differently than I have worked in the past. And I think it comes back down to being very clear about that. And I mean, I have to work on myself every day, because patterns, and I have a tendency to work a lot and forget maybe to look after myself during a day. And I need to keep reminding myself that is what is important to me. Mm-hmm. And this is there's another concept that we could talk about, is the work-life balance versus work-life integration, because I actually don't think work-life balance exists anymore. Our lines are so blurred between, I mean, especially now. I mean, we don't leave the workplace anymore. My home is my workplace. My meeting can take place anytime, because most people you talk to are in the same boat. So how do you manage to integrate the both? Because it doesn't work like that anymore. You don't leave the house at 8, come back at 5, and then you're done. We're overstimulated all the time, reachable all the time. And I think, so this is how I approached it. I sort of built myself a little framework on how do I want to work? And of course, the structure and the way I like to work, like I've done that in my corporate job the same way. I am a very structured person, but I also need to learn to let go of certain things. Not everything needs to be done yesterday, and sometimes 90% is okay. It doesn't always have to be 110. And these things, and you work without a team. So I'm trying to build myself some processes as well, because before, when you were doing a marketing campaign, I mean, you had another 10 people working with you looking over it. Now it's me and myself, and I need to start embracing little mistakes, because when you look at something on your own for so long, you're bound to miss something. So also working a little bit more slack in for myself. I think the way I'm setting myself up is very much with, yes, a structure that I've learned, but it's different for every single person. And I try to build in enough time to think, to learn, to sit back and take that step back and say, okay, where do I see this going? So back to your question, of course I've sat down and established some goals and objectives for this year, but I was very much on, I don't want to do any financial goals, because for me, this first year, and it takes a while to set up a business, is very different. It's about, setting up a brand, get my story, getting that pitch right. And you learn with every encounter. So what is important for me is to meet with people, to network. And this is also a recommendation I would give to anybody that wants to take that plunge. Is it sounds so corny, and networking is such an overused word in a sense, but it is important, because your project, your lead, I mean, our collaboration came through being part of a networking group, meeting, and it doesn't need to become forced or anything. When you get on with people and you have a wavelength that you share, and it goes from there. And this whole networking and helping each other, I call that paying forward, because people are very willing to help and support when people are making that plunge. And I've experienced it. I mean, great colleagues have become mentors or friends. And they're, by the way, a very good starting point to kind of figure out, where are your strengths, what you should focus on, and so forth. They know a lot about you, things that you don't even realize yourself sometimes.
And I remember you told me, was it a couple of months ago? And I thought this is an interesting exercise, if I may, to share.
Sure. Well, I don't know yet what you're going to say.
Yeah, this is the problem about these podcasts or these talks. It's going to be recorded. It's online. So I think by definition, you're going to be okay with it. No, but I share it. It's nothing particularly personal, but I thought it was a very good way for you to, because again, so one thing is pivoting, let's say from job A to job B within the same industry and perhaps in a different company, but still within the same industry. So you kind of know the dynamic. It's within that neighborhood. I call it the neighborhood. The neighborhood of the pharma, let's say. And you're moving from A to B to C to D. Okay. Another thing is when you're saying, I'm actually going to change city. It's not even into the same neighborhood. And so moving like the pivot you did. And therefore it does require a little bit of a deeper thought and a bit more foundation, if you will, or prep. And what I thought was interesting about your journey was that you asked your colleagues or your friends or within your network, it was almost like a 360. It wasn't directly a 360, but you did want to get the feedback from them very openly on your strengths, your areas of development, etc. And you had told me at the time that really helped you as well to boost as well your confidence in saying, hey, okay, well, I can do this, So I hope you're okay that I share that story.
Oh, no, absolutely. Because I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it's one thing for me to think I'm a good leader, but if it's backed up by feedback from your team, is a whole other starting point.
Right.
And sometimes your colleagues and friends, they can really see, I see you in an environment like that, but you're like that. And it does help to sort of either validate what you think or give you a completely new input and stimulus. Because also when you're then, to your point, pivoting to not just maybe another city, but another country, right, you got to get some hints and help on, consulting is very different than, for example, in an employment doing a product launch, where you're responsible for the whole thing, whereas now you're coming in for an element, for example. And how do you also communicate your skills that you've learned before to how you're applying them now?
It's very different. It's a very it's and I don't know. My experience has also been when I took the leap, and realized that there's a lot of things I don't know.
Sure.
There are a lot of things I don't, especially when you're going into different fields, which could be more in the media space, that it's only also by doing it that you'll then discover. Because as much as, to those people out there who may be listening and maybe kind of like thinking in their head and thinking, there comes a point that, you've got to do it or you got to test it. Because that's the only way you're actually going to, first of all, see whether you like it. Even if you're not successful, whether you still enjoy that hardship. Because it is often also about hardship. And actually, that's something I'd like to ask you too. What's the, what did you have to let go of in terms of kind of like sacrifice as well to pursue your passion? Because this is also what we're talking about. We're not just talking about, again, shifting within your neighborhood and moving from job A to B, but it's really you're saying, I want to do now what I really love, which is art. What do you, what's the downside of that? Or what is it that you feel you're kind of have to let go or sacrifice?
Challenging is, and I think you can probably speak to that as well, is also your own expectations. Right, because so you leave a job. I'm at a director level, and now I'm independent, and I'm a rookie now again in the field. Right, so enjoy being a rookie, but that's not so easy sometimes, because it also means that your own expectation of how your workday goes, of what you achieve is, and how you define success is extremely different. And all of these things I needed to redo. What does success mean for me now in comparison to what I've done before? And I think before I even made that plunge, there's things that I had to unlearn or relearn. Was also about, I had a very well established professional persona, which now that changes as well. And how do you bring in your personal you into that? Again, I needed to relook at it again. Okay, what do I actually really enjoy doing? What, besides art, where are my passions? How do you combine it all? And I think another thing that is very important that will help you is again, find a trusted core of people that you can lean on and talk to, because it is, of course, a roller coaster, because your own expectations and you don't know what you don't know when you walk into a completely new challenge, and just be open for it and not beat yourself up over little things that maybe don't go right. I don't know who said that, but I've always loved it. There is someone who said, fail is the first attempt in learning. And especially now when you're on your own, you really need to embrace that. It's okay to make mistakes, and you'll fix it. You'll learn. You'll do it better next time, and you will do a pitch and maybe not get the client, because yes, you don't have 20 years of professional company history behind you. No. That speaks for itself, right? No. You gotta earn that.
Absolutely, and I'm kind of going through because I'm starting to collect cards of quotes, which I was not necessarily planning to use, but there was one that actually, when you were speaking, resonated.
Okay,
I must say, which was yes. Which, since, again, I was not planning to use, it really looks very bad, so. But, actually, I thought this was good, because I was researching some polymaths. And there's this guy, Buckminster Fuller, apparently not.
Okay.
I didn't know him. I apologize to those who do know him. And I did not necessarily prepare anything about him, but this quote: "There's nothing in a caterpillar that tells you it's going to be a butterfly."
Oh, okay.
What I like about that is I actually think it's like we're kind of like many different caterpillars that can go through different transformations in our lifetime. And I don't know about you, but what's helped me is kind of embrace a second life. And so when you're starting out in life, you're gonna fall. When you're walking, you're gonna fall before you walk, and you're going to continue to fall before you're able to run. But it has helped me to reestablish this sense of forgiveness, kind of like even towards myself, of saying, but that was like the caterpillar. That became a certain butterfly in the corporate environment. But now, there's another caterpillar, and who knows what that's going to turn into in terms of the next butterfly. And I think another thing that could also help, to your point, is reaching out to the world with a sense of trust. Because, there are some people that you need to earn the trust. And you know what? When you're embracing, you're becoming an entrepreneur of your life, I kind of think it's just much easier if when you build your new persona, that you just go with the mindset of saying, I'm going to trust that when I reach out, it's going to be okay. That I may or may not get the support, doesn't matter, but that it's okay. That's kind of like everybody's a colleague at the end of the day. You stripe away the titles, you stripe away the corporate identities and belonging. Everybody is we're living in the same planet, kind of, when we're sharing this reality. So I think embracing that mindset also helps. And at the same time, when you do fail, you have your setbacks. So how do you manage the frustrations as well of kind of doing it all on your own with the support mechanisms that you said you have, of course, which we said are important. But how do you manage when you have your downs or your moments of frustrations or doubts, if I may ask?
No, of course, and of course I have those. I think we're all human. We all have them, and of course you sometimes ask yourself the question: did I do the right thing? Did I make the right choices? And for me, I'm very visual, so I like to write things down with pen and paper, or I try to find a balance and also know what things nourish me, and it's very simple things, like just looking at, okay, what have I achieved over the last 6 to 8 months? And this can be very, very simple things, and then also really stopping and taking the time to do something that nourishes me. Like, for example, I go paint, and it sort of takes your mind off.
An artist yourself.
Well,
yes. We got to showcase some of your art.
So, and I think this is also why I'm enjoying it so much, because I love working with artists, and I hope the fact that I'm an artist myself, that also gives me a little bit more, I don't want to say credibility, because, but again, it's about the process and enjoying it. And when you find something that you enjoy, it's more about the process, not so much about the outcome. And I'm actually trying to stick to the things that I have learned, in terms of don't focus on, is this going to be a good painting or not, but just go and do what feels right and what you enjoy doing. So, I mean, this is one thing. I think everybody needs to find for themselves what that is. I know for you, it's probably music. And whether that is listening to music or going for a walk or whatever, where you can just calm down. And again, it's also about talking to people, because one thing, I'm a very social person, and I've loved working with colleagues and a team and my manager and all of that. And then now you're on your own. And there are these days where you really get in your head, because you don't talk to that many people necessarily. And what always helps me is then making a conscious effort to get in touch with people, to reach out or get out of the house when it's possible and visit a gallery or a museum. So I'm just counting down the days when these things open up again, because not only are you going to do something and learn something, but you take yourself out of that thought process. And I think also another topic is gratitude. Trying to take a step back and look at all the things that are going well. What you are grateful for in your life. Is that your family, your friends, your partner, whatever it is, where you live, or it's gratitude is a very powerful thing, just to take the time to remember sometimes what we have, and that we actually don't need that much to be happy. But at the same time, we don't always have to chase happiness, because there are so many other aspects and facets of life that make you learn, grow, and be okay with it.
And happiness is not a thing.
No.
It's not a thing. Like, wait, again, I'm not prepared for this, but...
You have another quote?
No, but like, I do have lots of little props. There's more. One day I may be sharing my whole house.
Yeah.
Nothing is set in stone, but this is actually, I didn't want to show it for the quote, but happiness is not like, it's a nominalization that we use, but happiness is not a thing. And there's very much this illusion of pursuing happiness. It's not a stone. I'm not going to be looking for happiness. This is not something I'm going to find, but it is a way of being. And therefore, it is doing things happily or playfully. So using more adverbs than using it as a noun. And actually, I also think work sometimes is used as a noun, whereas maybe when people start looking at more as a verb to work, because job is a noun, and that is a nominalization of something you do. It's a job description, and it is defined the way it's defined. But I think already helping to see work as a verb, as a set of activities, and as a set of activities that hopefully you want to do, you enjoy doing, you're good at doing, and you're contributing to do something hopefully useful, and why not working with others, then I think that shift is almost automatic, and even that fluidity between work and life, because when you live, you are doing lots of things, but they may or may not be geared towards a specific outcome, which may lead to a certain profession or not. But yeah, the sense of gratitude and kind of taking life as it comes in a happy state, as opposed to in a state of anxiety of kind of saying, I have to pursue happiness. And at the end of the day, where is it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, congratulations, you have reached destination happiness.
Let me know where it is when you get there.
He's like, okay, so then what's the next destination?
Yeah.
I
think you're absolutely right. And remembering also why one decides to make a change or maybe pursue something else. And, when you have these things written down, and even stick it up on a wall as a reminder once in a while, it does help just to, get you out of that.
Yeah. And what would you recommend to individuals, professionals out there who may be considering that or maybe rethinking a little bit in terms of their development even?
Yeah.
And their professions, and if we talk about multiplicity of professions, what would you recommend they do or start thinking of perhaps doing?
I think similarly to what I said earlier, it's like start with a little bit of a status analysis, if you want to put it that way. Like, where am I at? What are the things that are, bugging me or bringing me joy? And really being clear about what it is you want or what's important to you. So for me, it was things like, I need to be able to be creative. I need to be able to work independently, take risks, have decision power, for example. What kind of environment do I work best in, for example? And maybe if it's too hard to know what it is that is important or what it is that you want, be clear about what it is that you don't want. And then be hard on that. Don't compromise, because very often we rationalize things where you go, okay, but then, stupid example, the paycheck is good, but these are all the other things. And I think when we're very clear of what actually brings us motivation or where you get your mojo from, then don't compromise on that. And I think that will be a pretty good guidance in terms of what are the decisions I should take. And I also think that, a few doors may close, but there's many more that open at the same time. And you may not be able to see that right then and there, but have that belief in yourself and also others that something will come along. And again, I would go back to the support network. Talk to your trusted core is a great starting point to figure some of these things out. I say it again, networking. If I look at my network, fantastic people, but it's firmly in the healthcare space, right? So when you want to shift, you also got to start making connections in a different space, because this is where you're getting your ideas from. This is getting your inspiration. And, you know, test it. I mean, if you're saying, okay, I'm considering X, Y, Z, there are always ways getting in touch with people that is exactly in that city or whatever you want to call it, and just have a chat. Most people are super happy to help and to exchange. And that way you can just, you know, find out a little bit what that may be like. And don't be afraid to take a decision, because having taken a decision is much better than sitting in limbo and stagnating and not moving, because at least you've committed to something. It may be right, it may be wrong, but it allows you to actually move forward and actually say it was right or wrong. Because if you're not making that step, I mean, how do you know? And it's uncomfortable, but there's also enjoyment being outside your comfort zone. I mean, this is how we grow.
It is, and I don't know if it's a 20th century kind of thing. This whole thing actually started much earlier than that. But 21st century, I think, ways of being. I think it's much less about fitting into any given paradigm, structure, form of this is the way you should be. This is the way. I'm currently writing a lot about that in terms of for myself for now. But it's more like. Your life has kind of like been programmed from birth to death, so to speak. And then, you know, you get an education, you get married, nowadays you get a divorce, and then you get kids, and then you get a job, and you retire, then you take care of the grandkids, and then goodbye. Well, that linearity is no longer there. And I think this sense of allowing yourself to make mistakes, like you were saying before, do it, test it.
Yeah.
Not deciding is deciding anyway, by the way. People think that by not deciding, it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to stay safe. Actually, I had another quote, and this was absolutely not planned, because this is very spontaneous. Spontaneous conversation. I should be doing these quotes more often. Yes. Helen Keller. We all know Helen Keller. She was blind. She was deaf, and yet she was an amazing achiever. I think she wrote books. She created, I think, even educational systems, schools, etc. But what she says is security. Linking to what you were saying, security is mostly a superstition. It does not exist in nature, nor do the children of men as a whole experience it. Avoiding danger, which I would translate, avoiding to do things, avoiding danger is no safer in the long run than outright exposure. Life is either a daring adventure or nothing. I found that super cool.
No, it's a very nice quote, and you're absolutely right. But you kind of just triggered another one of my pet peeves, you know, when we're talking about job security. So you're mentioning security. It is a myth, or has become a myth. It is wrong to believe that there is such thing as job security, and that's okay in a way. I mean, corporations, companies, they gotta, you know, make money, earn a living, whatever. And if, you know, like we've learned now in this pandemic, things get thrown over completely, they need to ensure that they continue being in business. So it doesn't matter how good of an employee you may have been or how many long hours you have worked, you may get laid off. And so there's this fear of I'm leaving security. I'm not sure. I mean, I would agree with you. There is superstition, and it's changed. That is one thing that has changed, and it's a much more fast-paced environment that we live in. So people should not be afraid to change.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. That's another paradigm shift, right?
Yeah.
Work used to be seen as this safe harbor, kind of like it gave me status, it gave me stability, it gave me security, it gave me income. And, you know, sorry to break the bad news, but it hasn't been that way already since a while, since probably 10, 15 years. And yet, at least in all the restructurings I've been through, or the linked to acquisitions, and we know in the pharma how, for example, dynamic that world is. And it's never a personal thing. But you know what? You are going to be probably walking out a door at some stage. And it's not a personal thing at all. It is just the dynamics of the work.
But this is why it's our job to look after the person, ourselves as well, and be true to ourselves and not necessarily compromise, because no one else is going to do it for you.
Wow. I mean, this is an extraordinary, this is really a wild talk, ranging from all different topics. And I think we will have other episodes. I'm not sure about that. Yeah, and maybe also, why not panels with other folks to talk about these things? Because I also think what helps is, I say this often, is it kind of helps people feel less lonely in their thought process.
Absolutely. And I think also we're starting the dialogue, which is extremely important, but then how do we at one point move from there to, can we drive change? Can we have an impact? Because, there's a lot of smart people out there that see certain things not working, but how can we bring that collective together to say, okay, let's start somewhere and try to bring out some change.
This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing. Sounds like a good moment to kind of end. And before we do, it's part of the WOW Talk tradition by now, as if the WOW has been going on for 10 years. But anyway, to ask what's wowing you? What's wowing you at the moment? What's giving you that?
Wow, I think, exactly. There are a few things, actually, I would say. I think we all know at the moment it's difficult times, and we've been thrown about and nobody knows what's up and down. And I'm really wowed by people that have taken this and they're innovating, they're being creative, supporting others, and turning a difficult time and obstacles into good projects, and starting dialogue about important topics. So I'm totally amazed by that, and I think what you're doing is fantastic as well. And I'm so honored to be here. And then maybe another thing, and that comes a little bit back to my passion, art. And I don't mean just painting. I mean, it's writing, it's music. You can communicate so much, bring about change, start dialogue in that way, get people to think and question what we do today, nowadays. And I think with art we can move a lot. So I am wowed by the creativity and also the amount of fantastic artists and people that have something to say in a meaningful and very constructive way. I think that's my big two.
Wow. Those are big two wows.
Yeah, very big.
Those are big two wows, which will lead me to inviting you to another episode where I'd really then like to, because it is my passion, right? Music and entertainment.
Yes.
And why not showcase art as well? Yeah. And talk about some of the artists.
Hey, now you're just down my alley, and any opportunity to showcase fantastic artists and talk about the message and what can be done with that be brilliant.
Let's do that. We're going to do that.
Hey, I'm in.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining, Christina, and take good care, and we will have another episode.
Thank you very much for having me. See you soon.
Ciao. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Well, what a fantastic episode that was together with Christina, who I thank once again wholeheartedly in being very open and authentic in sharing her journey, her experience of what it means to take the plunge, to take the leap and embrace a different profession, a different career in very difficult times too as well. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, until the next time, take good care.